So here we have a Marks and Spencer's edition Fairground set from 2011. The instructions are reprints of earlier Meccano branded sets from 1994, but the set, apart from the box, is exactly the same, with it's the Meccano's own one or the Marks and Spencer's edition one. The differences being the shape of the box in the Meccano one is almost square, different background colours and design. The Marks and Spencer's one, more rectangular, slightly larger I suppose, different background colours, and of course it says Marks and Spencer's on the boxes as well as Meccano of course. It's a fine model, works quite well now it's been adjusted with the gears and lubricated. It works even better when it's got good batteries. The original batteries that came with the set were 4 years old, so not very good. A decent model. Value wise, of course, second hand only now. Be nice if they produced the set again. It does come with some good length pieces which you don't get as much now, if at all, although it is starting to filter back in slightly longer parts. We've got 12.5 inch strips, there's 7.5 inch and I think 9 or 9.5 inch, can't remember now. There are some slight variations which we'll go on to, but if you wanted to buy this set, usually of course off eBay, I have purchased a set that hadn't got the full box, it just got the tray, it was complete, for 25-26 quid plus a bit of post, and I have paid, this one being an example, from a dealer, I can't remember now, I think it was 75. I have seen them as much as 85, but they're well worth it even at that. The parts are very good quality, there's lots of parts, it's a good set, although some adjustments are needed, especially on this model where it comes to putting the boat together with the different angles formed by using straight parts at different angles and curved parts, so you might have to slacken some bolts off to get it together. Not only the boat but the frame as well. As you can see, there's lots of angles with curved parts and straight parts, so you may again have to slacken off some bolts to get it all to fit properly, but it does go together with a bit of work quite well. Now this set, being from 2011, comes with the later battery box, and although the instructions did come with the set, they are reprints from 1994, official reprints of course, but it does show the earlier battery box. Now I do have an example of the battery box ready made, and you can see this in its own video. It's about, if I remember right, 1992 set, Grader. Does work quite well. The battery box is more open, different design of course on the mouldings, but you do have to put your wires in and the clip, sort of push on clip to hold them in, but you do have to put the connectors in as well, and I find that quite difficult. There's no reverse either on that. So because there's a slight difference in the design, well more than a slight difference, you can't fit the battery box in the same way. The original one would have gone across there like that, with 2 bolts. You can't do that with this design because the bolt heads get in the way, so I've just put one 9.5mm bolt in the back. Now of course when it's steam powered, if you look in the playlist for the events and shows where you can see these, or the models that have already been built running on battery power and steam, you will see that I have my own connectors and I only use this end, the switch if you like, own connectors on here, and I use crocodile clips. However, because of the change in the project, it not being at the moment anyway, or for quite some time, driven from, all of them driven off a steam engine's dynamo, I will be looking at possibly running direct off drive bands off different Mammoth, I should think, in the main steam engines, probably older rather than newer. This model though is a decent model with a bit of tweaking and a bit of lube. Now when I tried it last night, the batteries were pretty useless really, because they are quite old, so I put new batteries in and it did run. Then I did my old trick. First up, adjusted the gears by slackening off the bolts. You'll find a bit of play in the system, so the gears are not too tight together, of course, not too far apart, so that they jump. Also regarding earlier and later versions of the battery box, the motor as well. I haven't seen one for quite some time, but if I remember correctly, and of course according to these instructions here, the motor used to come with a flat mount all moulded into one. The flat mount allowed you to fit bolts and nuts either side of the mount without any problems. But I'm going to zoom in now and show you why there's a slight change in the build using this later motor. Earlier on, the motors would have had a flat mount, so all this part here, and of course the other side, would be flat. These have got like an encapsulated moulding, not unlike but slightly different to the new Meccano robots. This means that you cannot fit. As you can see, you can't get a bolt in there. It won't fit through, not a standard one anyway. It's awkward to get in and the bolt won't sit flat inside there. Now of course the instructions are reprints of the earlier type, and it shows the bolts going through from this side into this strip here to hold the motor. You can't do that. The motor is in the same position, but on the other side, and that's difficult to see, but I'll try and show you. Just about there. What I've had to do is just put the bolts in from the other side and have the nuts on this side. Of course the benefit is you don't need a spanner, but you can't get a standard nut through there properly and to fit flush where the nuts are. You just won't go through the hole there. So I had to change that. So as we'll probably have, and we do seem to be having younger viewers these days, which is all good stuff, how does it work? Well, we haven't got much power coming through. We've got 2 pencil batteries, 3 volts, into a small motor. We've got quite a bit of weight to pull initially anyway till we get it going with the boat. So how are we going to do it? Well, we need to add a reduction gearing, and most of the set models are based or use this setup with the gears in the set, of course. The mounts might be different and the position of the gears will change, but the essential same thing is a 57:1 reduction ratio, giving you more power for no more input or a bigger motor. So basically that means this worm gear here, which is 1 tooth, has to turn 57 times for one turn, one full turn of this spur gear, which has 57 teeth. So 57 on here, 1 on there, so 57 turns of that to 1 turn of that. On the other end of the axle we've got this pulley that's got a grommet that's also got a pulley groove in it. That's fixed to the pulley with a 9.5mm bolt and a nut to hold it in place. On the boat itself we've got another similar setup like that fixed to one of the supports. Around that one we have a drive band. Now if you call it an elastic band I wouldn't be surprised, because essentially that's what it is, but perhaps a more heavy duty one. And you can use elastic bands sometimes, folks, if you need to. I have. This goes on there like that. This pulley and this forms a cam. I have lubricated the parts as well as adjusted the gears so there's a comfortable distance between each gear and it's not too far that they jump. Lubrication, I've used furniture polish where plastic is against plastic, or rubber with the grommets, and where it's metal and metal I've used just a drop, just a spot of 3-in-1. Now I'm going to switch it on and you'll see how this forms a cam. To pull, stretches the elastic band as well, like a bungee cord or a bungee rope, and helps to move the boat. But I'll show you the mechanism working first. So turn it round and you can see the gears again. I'm going to switch it on. You can see initially it's quite slow. You've got to pick up the weight of the boat, but once you get swinging, like on a swing in a playground, once you get it swinging it's easier to keep it going. So we've got a bit of tension here when the boat is actually being pulled. The weight of the boat is against the motor. You can see the motor slow down, and it could do with a bit more lube on because the polish doesn't last that long. We've got the worm turning, the spur gear, and there you can see the boat working quite well. Sometimes I've seen these models built and they don't run as good as this one. I must be just lucky, I think. But the pivot on the main axle isn't fixed with these face plates. They hang free, but it's still enough to turn the axle as a whole. So I would say put a drop of oil on the boss there, each side. It is running very well now. Perhaps wants a little bit more adjustment, but I may try fitting a 1/2 inch pulley as the pivot for the drive band on the larger pulley, just to see if that makes any difference. But it's pretty good as it is, as you can see. So there we are, folks, the 2011 Meccano Marks and Spencer's edition pirate ship. Working very well now it's been lubed and adjusted. I did think it was going to have a bit of extra support on the frame, but on a good base, a solid base, it does work quite well and doesn't rock around at all. Got some nice detail with the steps as well and the platform to get on. A very good use of parts, although there are a lot of parts left in the set. I have added some extra washers at the top on the main shaft. I could probably add a bit of support from some of the parts from the set for the frame, but it doesn't need it at all really. So a very good set indeed.